Fatmir Limaj, would you please stand? The Chamber finds you not guilty on all counts in the indictment. The Chamber orders that you be immediately released from the United Nations Detention Unit, subject to the completion of the necessary modalities. You may be seated. There are many factors relevant to this which the Chamber has set out in its written judgment. The Chamber has also had to consider other relevant evidence, especially evidence that suggested that Haredine Bala was not in Lupushnik during the relevant period, and evidence which suggested that because of poor health he could not have done some of the things described by the witnesses and alleged in the indictment. Having weighed carefully the effect of all of this evidence, for reasons which the Chamber has set out in its written judgment, the Chamber finds that the prosecution has proved, beyond reasonable doubt, that the accused Haredine Bala is the KLA guard known as Shala, who was involved in the running of the prison camp in Lupushnik and who escorted the remaining prisoners to the Berisha Mountains on the 25th or 26th of July 1998. The Chamber has gone on to consider, therefore, whether it has been proved that the accused Haredine Bala is personally or otherwise criminally responsible for any of the charged offences which have been proved to have occurred. Having weighed the evidence dealing with these issues, the Chamber has found that the prosecution has not proved that Haredine Bala is criminally responsible for any of the 3 murders of prisoners at the camp, that is, count 8. But the prosecution has proved that Haredine Bala is guilty of cruel treatment, that is, count 6, for having mistreated 3 individual prisoners and aided in another episode of mistreatment of one of those prisoners, and for his personal role in the maintenance and enforcement of the inhumane conditions of detention in the prison camp. And that the prosecution has proved that Haredine Bala aided the torture of 1 prisoner, that is, count 4. And further, that Haredine Bala, jointly with 1 or perhaps 2 other KLA guards, murdered 9 prisoners from the prison camp in the Berisha Mountains on the 25th or 26th of July 1998. That is, count 10. There was little evidence to identify the accused Isaac Musliu as having any kind of involvement in the prison camp. The evidence relied on by the prosecution has been set out and considered by the Chamber in the written judgment. In the Chamber's finding, the evidence presented fails to establish that Isaac Musliu had any involvement in the events charged or in the running of the prison camp, or that on any other basis he is criminally responsible for any of the offences with which he is charged in the indictment. Fatmir Limaj, would you please stand? the Chamber finds you not guilty on all counts in the indictment. The Chamber orders that you be immediately released from the United Nations Detention Unit, subject to the completion of the necessary modalities. You may be seated.